Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Chess Olympiad Round 5. And as you may notice, cameras today. That also means a lot more scene navigation on my part. Okay. I thought we were going to switch to watching Anna at her board right here, but it would appear we need to look around our little cameras to see if we can spot her. Oh, there she is. Oh, that's a very bad sign. And there the cameras went. This is complicated things a little bit. This is Lissy Petz from the German team talking either with Pia or into the camera. Here we have the Pia cam. Yeah, so we can tell that Pia and Lissy, they're talking to each other. The camera goes, it stands in the same place and then it showcases in each direction. Very bad news though. Oh no, here she is. There wasn't a full update of the camera, but we have the camera ready here for the games today. And Anna with the black pieces, she's playing women's grandmaster Josefina Heinemann today. The German team is ranked number 8 in the competition. And yeah, they are a force to be reckoned with. And for the first time in this tournament, Pia is not the rating favorite in her game. So Sweden is lower rated on every single board. How come cameras today? Because the Swedish team is doing so well, and I think there's only cameras on the top boards, but because of the 4-0 win yesterday, and because they're now playing one of the top ranked teams in the tournaments, they made it to the section where there are cameras. Four 0 yesterday, Pog. Yeah, it was a good day. It was a good day. I feel bad for Lavinia that I'm cutting like half her face, but I'm not sure you're gonna like my solution. I'm gonna cut her whole face because frankly, it looked even weirder with half of it at the same time. Ina is getting sitting down at the board. We have nothing below here, unfortunately. Just showcasing that. So yeah, we have very limited ability to frame the cameras in a better way, essentially. How old is Lavinia? I think she's 14 or 15. Do we have any control over the cam? No. This is what we have. But we'll make the best out of it. The awkward clap, a staple in chess tournaments, I assure you. Any predictions for the final score today? Another 4-0. I don't think it's going to be 4-0 because Pia has the white pieces. And even if Pia is slightly lower rated than her opponent, a normal strategy in these kind of team tournaments, especially when you're facing a team that has like one player who's much stronger than the others, I think the German top board against Pia is going to be pretty defensively minded. They're going to be very happy with a draw there. But getting more than half a point in this match is going to be tough. Okay, we saw the shake hands and the games are underway without a delay today. That is shocking. For the first day, it's round 5, and this is the first day there's no delays in the start. Probably does not bode well for Mr. Carlson, but we're happy to see some moves on the board, and it's the same opening that we've seen Anna use already twice in this tournament. She starts out with her Sicilian defense after knight to f3, e6. This she played yesterday and won a very nice game. Pawn forward, the trade happens, then knight to f6, and she does go for the 4 knight Sicilian yet again, but in doing so, she's making herself very predictable, and maybe Josefina might go for this critical trade between the knights and pawn to e5, which is considered White's best option here. And indeed, that has happened. The trade between the knights on the board. Anna's going to recapture in towards the center. She now has a 3 versus 1 in the middle of the board. But the problem is the safety of her knight. This knight is going to be kicked by the white pawn. The knight then finds temporary salvation here on the d5 square. A great placement for a knight, but the problem is that white is planning to push their pawn forward and attack the knight at the earliest convenience. Anna here, queen to c7. The idea is to attack the pawn on e5. If white tries to chase away the black knight, we don't even have to move it because we're doing a counterattack on the white knight while also capturing a very important central pawn. So that's why white needs to protect, and so she does. And now queen to b6 is the only move that people play. So I don't know why she's hesitating here. Normally, Anna plays super quickly as long as she's in prep. And if she's not in prep here, then she's going to lose the game. This is the main line of the 4 knights Sicilian defense. And it's incredibly complicated. If you don't know the first 15 moves by heart, you lose the game. And so this is a big one. And because she's so predictable, Anna's opponent is going to have prepared this very far in the opening. So Anna needs to really showcase her game. The funny thing about this opening is that we're probably going to see a bonk cloud now. This is one of very few openings where the best moves for white is to move the king forward. King to e2. You don't do it immediately though. First, white plays pawn to c4, attacking the knight. And then the bishop comes in, check on the king. And here the trick is that if white tries to block the check with their bishop, then the queen can come in, check on the king, pressure on, well, everything. And the queen cannot capture the bishop because of the pressure black's bishop has on the king. So the main line here is that after this c4 move attacking the knight, the bishop moves forward, pressure on the king, and the only acceptable move here for white is king forward. And then the game continues something like pawn to f5, counterattacking white's knight. The knight moves back, bishop out, pressure on the king, and the king has to move even further up the board simply because you needed to avoid the pressure of these bishops. That is a story for another day, though, because Josefina, she has played a different move. She has played pawn to a3, and the point of this move is taking control of the b4 square, making sure that black's bishop cannot go there and give a check in towards the king. Anna plays pretty quickly, and she plays pawn to a5. I am not familiar with this move. Yeah, I don't know. She played it. She played it almost without thinking, though. So it feels like she should know what she's doing. But now white gets to play this pawn to c4 move without the bishop check being available. So my immediate impression is that this feels like an improved version of the situation for white. And since the bishop check was not available to her, Anna instead invades with the knight in behind the white forces, supported by the queen, and attacks both the queen and the bishop. So good news, after the queen moves, Anna is capturing the white bishop, and the pace with which she's making these moves seem to suggest that she's definitely still in something she's looked at. So she's still in her preparation. White loses out on the bishop pair, but on the other hand, when the rook comes in here, it can become very dangerous for the king. Because we're in a situation now where this rook could get involved in the game very quickly through opening up here towards the king. In this variation, though, it doesn't work because here pawn to d5 attacks both the knight and the bishop opens up to attack the rook. But it's something to be aware of. The only acceptable move for black here is bishop to a6, according to the chess engine. But that makes a lot of sense because that's kind of why you played this a5 move to begin with. So if I go back a little bit, I remember some of the stuff I looked at with the black pieces was knight in here first and then capturing the bishop and then going with my bishop out on the edge. And this is going to be very similar to what Anna is doing. But the disadvantage to putting your bishop here before you move the pawn up is that your opponent can try to use their pawn up here and try to limit the scope of your bishop. So Anna is on purpose playing this a5 move before she gets the bishop out in order to have better control on her opponent's half and make sure that her opponent cannot rush this pawn up. In fact, the position we're getting to now is pretty much identical to the one I was showing earlier. But the only difference being that the black pawn is on the a5 square and it's white to move instead of black. Ooh, that being said, bishop here, even though the computer recommends that move, it's a super dangerous one to make, because then this pawn to f5 that we were talking about earlier becomes so much more powerful because there's no longer a bishop that's having some pressure on that diagonal towards the f5 pawn. Ooh, but on the other hand, Here we can capture the pawn, and when white recaptures, we can invade with the queen, attacking both the king and the pawns on the king side. This is going to be a tremendously dangerous game. And this is the kind of this kind of exemplifies the four-knight Sicilian, in that if you don't know what's going on, things get very scary very quickly. She did not play bishop here. I think she played c5. No, a4. Okay, computer already says white is winning. If you're gonna play this very, very tricky Sicilian opening, you gotta know your stuff. And Anna doesn't. I'm honestly surprised she only thought for 2 minutes on that move. Because normally when she's not in her preparation, she spends ages. But this is chat's fault. Chat has been telling her she needs to go quicker. But this is not a position where you can go quicker. Though, to be fair, this is not a position that you can figure out over the board either. This kind of thing you gotta know before the game starts, and if you don't know it, then you're in trouble. Less than 20 minutes into the game, blaming chat. Hey, we're 5 minutes into the game, and computer is saying it's over. She rushed her move. I think it's fair to blame chat. I thought it was a Norwegian grandmaster who was telling her to go quicker. No. You're just revealing that you haven't been watching the streams. I specifically praised her when she pointed out that because we specifically talked about how time management is not just about moving quicker, it's about using time in the right moments. Chess is a difficult game. You're supposed to spend quite a bit of time in the critical situations. But then time management is about identifying which positions are so important that they need some extra care. Why is this so bad? Well, the thing is, the king is in the center. The knight, the queen, and the rook are all kind of ready to get involved. Also, black has put all of their pawns on the light squares, which means the dark square control is absolutely abysmal. And the thought of a white knight establishing itself on the d6 square is a freaking nightmare. The move the computer recommends is bishop to d2. It's not very obvious that this is so, like, honestly, it's not the end of the world just yet for Anna. It's just it is a bit concerning that she's playing these incredibly dangerous openings and doesn't know them by heart. I think my main issue here is more that why is she playing this opening when it doesn't really necessarily fit her style. If you're going to be playing this stuff, you got to be like the biggest expert to justify it. But yeah, bishop to d2 is the move that's being recommended. And then just castles. So basically the computer is saying this is bad for black because white can just continue development and black is not safe long term just because, well, there's just so many of white's pieces developed and in attacking positions, while black not only hasn't developed but also doesn't really have a safe place to hide the king. Oh, and this f5 move is coming up, which is going to open up for the rook as well. Basically every white piece is going to participate in this attack. So if bishop to d2 is played, the only way to punish this is by capturing the pawn. On the other hand, that's a reasonable punishment. And the fact that that pawn is under attack could discourage the German player from finding this right move, especially as after the capture, the next good move is to go rook b1. So bishop to d2 is the only good move, the chess engine says. And here, rook to b1 is the only good move. But that's giving up another pawn. Here, Anna can just capture the pawn on a3. And then the chess engine says queen to c2. So white just casually gives away 2 pawns. But the problem is the black queen is in dire straits. And in fact, there's a very cute checkmate here. If Anna tries to go develop her bishop, the rook will come in, pressure the queen. The queen only has 1 safe square. The problem is now the queen is standing in the path of the bishop, so the knight can jump in. The bishop cannot capture because the queen is in the way. It's check on the king, and when the king moves, the bishop comes in for a very nice knight and bishop checkmate. So the good news is that in order to absolutely destroy Anna worse than she's ever been destroyed before, her opponent needs to find 2 very tricky, very good pawn sacrifice moves in a row. The bad news is if Anna's opponent figures out the power of those moves, then it could be a checkmate in less than 20 moves. I think sacrificing b2 is super easy. Yeah, but it's also about how you sacrifice it, right? So bishop to d2 is the right move, but to a human, it feels more right to go bishop to e3. Because a human naturally gravitates towards attacking other stuff and moving their pieces further forward. And this bishop move is bad, while the other one is super good. Okay, it's not bad, but it's not as good. And the reason is that here Anna can come in with her queen, same idea, just, you know, you have a terrible position, so you might as well capture as many of the opponent's pawns as possible and hope that you survive. That's a legit strat, by the way. And here the difference is that without the bishop on the d2 square, the queen can actually start capturing over on the other side. Although even here, I'm not really understanding how black is supposed to survive, because frankly, you haven't gotten any of your pieces into the game. The queen is pointing down, the rook is pointing down, the knight is incredibly well centralized. I mean, it feels like this is completely over as well. But the computer says here there are fighting chances for black. She has a pretty good poker face. I don't think she realizes how bad the situation is. I don't think she realizes how dangerous her opening is, to be honest. Just frankly, then she wouldn't be playing it as casually as she has. I don't understand why she did the pawn move. I guess she's trying to prevent pawn to b3. So if you do something like bishop up here, white can go pawn to b3, which protects this pawn, but also protects this pawn, right? And then on the next move, white can develop the bishop without being concerned about the safety of the b pawn. Computer says this is fine for black though. Oof, but here you're supposed to go bishop e7. That is very calm. You need to have ice in your veins in order to play this opening. I don't know. This still looks super scary for black to me. Just white's dominance here through the center of the board. I don't know. Is it fair to say her opponent is taking a good thing since she can tell something is off? Well, her opponent cannot necessarily tell that something is off. What she can know is that her preparation probably did not include this a4 move. Josefina knows, okay, I did not analyze this move. That probably means it's not a great move because it was not one of the computer's top choices. Okay, this is interesting. She does go for the bishop, but she doesn't play. I think this is a much more human approach, which we talked about. The bishop, it's more natural to a human to be more aggressive and try to get your pieces out while attacking the opponent. The good news about this move is that it feels like, well, it feels like Anna has to understand here that she must take the pawn, otherwise it's just a complete disaster. Because if Anna now goes pawn to c5, which is really the only viable alternative at this stage, Josefina can just castle. And now the king is protecting this pawn. And white got their rook involved, pointing down through the center of the board. It's just incredibly dangerous for black on every front there is. This game isn't over. Well, the thing is, even though she got a question mark, the computer still thinks Anna is in a great deal of trouble. Because Anna has only gotten her queen out. She moved her queen twice already, and now she's gonna move the queen 2 more times over the next 2 moves. The good news is that she's gonna be up quite a few pawns. The bad news is that the black king is not feeling great at this moment. Is that a Swedish teammate wearing the Danske Bank jersey? Yes, the Swedish team is sponsored by Danske Bank, which the company name is literally translated to the Danish bank. And after it was announced, there were some Danes asking if Swedbank could sponsor the Danish team. As far as I know, they did not do that. Have you played any of the German girls? Pets was the girlfriend of one of my teammates on my Norwegian club team at one point, some 20 years ago. So I've traveled with pets once. She also does some coaching for one of the Norwegian chess clubs. I know Anna's opponent, Josefina Heinemann. She has a lot of good comments on Twitter. So I follow her on Twitter. It's surprisingly rare to find chess players with good good comments and good opinions. But maybe that's just me being a bit contrarian by nature. On the first board, Pia's opponent, I believe she has moved to Germany from a different country because she married one of the German boys. I think she's originally from, I want to say, Kazakhstan, but I'm gonna need a chat fact check on that. And then Laura Schulze on the last board, I don't know. She's Russian? Okay, never mind. My bad. Heinemann lives in Baku. Okay, I didn't know that. Hammer, do you know any German? I had German for 2 years. Ich spreche sehr gut Deutsch. Ich habe eine Staubsauger ohne Käse, bitte. Why is she letting Anna take her pawns? Because she's expecting the rest of White's army to really maximize their potential. You can look at it as giving away pawns, but Josefina is basically saying, sure, I'm giving away my pawns, but look at how I'm activating my rook. So temporarily White is down 2 pawns, but if you look at the power of the pieces, it's more like White has gained a rook in comparison to the situation that was. Still, Anna should just take the pawns, because sometimes if you're gonna have a miserable position anyway, you might as well take as many pawns as possible and hope that your opponent makes a mistake. She doesn't need pawns to checkmate. I mean, it's nice when you do a checkmate with a pawn. But yeah, I think that's basically her argument, that giving away a couple of pawns in order to do a big checkmate, opening up for the rooks is good. Is knight d6 over for black? No, we're not concerned about the knight coming in here just yet, because anytime the knight comes in, we'll be able to capture it with our bishop. It's very important that Anna realizes she's in big trouble. Well, I think she's already realized that. But it's very important she realizes that her best way out of trouble is just taking everything and then praying, essentially. It's even better to checkmate with the en passant move than with a pawn move. But that's incredibly rare. Like no one can make that happen. It would require the most extraordinary of people. What about queen takes b2 and then queen takes a3? Yeah, we looked at this earlier. And it makes a ton of sense. In fact, it's quite likely that Anna goes for this. Uh, weirdly, so here white is winning, but there's only one winning move, which is really, really tricky to understand. So this is the kind of situation that would be really good for Anna. Because even though she's objectively in massive trouble, the nuance of what white has to do is so tricky that it feels like, well, actually maybe it's not so tricky. So here queen e2 is the only winning move, but now that I thought about it, it actually makes sense, because the idea is that you're threatening to trap the queen with bishop back next, and that's why you don't go queen to d2, which would have been a natural alternative, but there's a pretty clear and obvious explanation with the bishop moving back. And it's not like the black queen is getting trapped. It's just very problematic that when the queen is forced back, the queen is now standing in the path of the bishop, which then means the knight coming in is a massive issue. And in this position, black is up by 2 pawns, so that's nice. The problem is queen here threatens checkmate, and in order to avoid the checkmate, you have to move your own queen. The problem was the only square you could move your queen was up here, and now if you do that, the white queen just captures you. So queen to f2 is such a fantastic move. If you go queen to e3, then black can survive, because the queen gets out and creates the escape square. But queen to f2 both takes that one under control and goes for the checkmate. Who is the team with the bright red yellow sweaters in the back? You're asking good questions. Based on the flag, it's Angola. The Fide just posted a video on YouTube where they interviewed the players before the round, asking them to identify flags, which is just the perfect thing to do at a chess venue. Every aspiring chess player spent their entire childhood studying all the flags. I actually messed up one. I'm kind of ashamed of myself. I messed up on Malawi. I thought it was the Afghanistan flag. Oh damn it. I spoiled it for those of you wanting to. Sorry. My bad. Afghanistan flag is vertical stripes. Well, apparently so is the Malawi. More spoilers. I already, messed up. I might as well just continue. Is this the current position? No, sorry. The current position is also bad, virtual, but it's not as bad as that little analysis seemed to suggest. The good news is that the opponent's move got a question mark. The bad news is that the only reason it got a question mark is because they had a move that was just game over instantly instead. And this still is very problematic on Anna's behalf. The Germans tryharding with Pets not on board one. Pets is not the highest rated on this German team, I think. Why is Inna facing an international master while Pia facing an international master while Inna is facing a grandmaster? Well, you can just look at the German team's ratings. Both Pets and Wagner are about the same rating. So even though Pets has the stronger title, you're judged on your expectation to win, not what you've achieved in the past. You're not better than your next move. As Simon Augustine likes to remind us kids. The German team looks crazy strong. They're a lot stronger than the Swedish team. Let's put it like that. They're the number 8 seed in the entire tournament. So if they have a good showing, they could potentially be vying for medals. But the German team has had very, very disappointing results in the last 2 rounds. So that's some cause for optimism. I don't know. So I checked this out yesterday, but let me refresh my memory. In the last 2 rounds, Germany played 2-2 against Slovenia and against Argentina. Although, to be fair, both Slovenia and Argentina are slightly better than Sweden, but not by that much. The thing about the Swedish team is that if Pia manages to win on board 1, they can do anything, right? When you have such a strong board 1 player that can take down even the strongest team's first boards, then that makes a big difference. Is that Anna's dad right there in the background? Yes. We have on the picture right now, we have Inna on the left. Then we have the team captain of an unknown nation. Then we have Anna, then we have Lavinia, then we have Juan, and about the same. Well, I guess Pets is slightly to the right of Juan, but Pets is the one on the right on the close camera. Is it just me or did they switch cameras? Did we not have this camera closer to Anna not too long ago? Oh, they changed the... Maybe they expanded the... No, they did not. Never mind. They zoomed out, yeah. Well, it suits us fine. When did they add the cameras? The cameras are from the organizer. So you're not allowed to bring your own camera, but we're permitted now to use the organizer's camera. But the organizers only have cameras for the top matches. So because Sweden is playing Germany, which is one of the top 10 teams in the competition, those boards that area of the venue has the cameras, and it's a big venue. Let's put it like that. Okay, never mind. I thought I was gonna show off the full venue. I guess that's not a thing anymore. When we were doing the preparation for the stream, they gave us one camera that was just looking over the whole 2,000 players. Let's hope that Anna realizes how much trouble she is in and that she just starts capturing as many pawns as possible. She says she likes to calculate, and there's certainly plenty to calculate here. That's for sure. Let's jump to Pia's game. The camera is acting a bit out. I think what we just saw was the Pia cam 1 hour ago, but now we have the updated Pia cam. And let's take a look at her position and her start of the game. So, Pia is playing Dinara Wagner, formerly of Russia, now representing Germany. International Masters, slightly higher rated than Pia. Pawn to d4, pawn to d5. Pia goes for the declined Queen's Gambit. Same opening that Anna plays. I'm assuming that's not a coincidence. It's a very old school opening, strategic play. Knight out, knight out, knight out. Ooh, this is interesting. And Pia plays knight to d7. And you know why this is interesting? This is the move Diamante de Elite Cornet played against Pia when Pia lost with the white pieces against France. She's using an opening that was used against her to try and take down the Germans. A trade between the pawns in the middle of the board. This is the same Pia played with the white pieces. We talked about how this pawn trade is usually good for black because it opens up the possibility for the bishop to get into the game. One of the main problems for black in the Queen's Gambit declined is that this bishop struggles getting into the game because of the pawn that's standing in its path. So whenever white makes the trade in the center, you're usually pretty happy about that. However, here the trade happens after Pia had already moved her knight in the way of the bishop. So even though the pawns are traded, the bishop is not able to get into the game quickly after all. Bishop to g5. This is also what Pia did. Pawn to c6. I think so far so good. The same opening. Queen to c2. I don't think that's what Pia did. Bishop to e7, that's sensible play. The opponent's bishop was targeting in towards the black queen, so it makes sense trying to have your own bishop neutralizing that pressure. Pawn to h3. That's a bit mysterious. Sometimes you want to hide your bishop down here. But if you wanted to do that, why are you putting your bishop on this square to begin with? Okay, I'm not into the details here. Maybe this is some kind of clever move order that I'm not aware of. I actually played this opening as white, recently, and I got crushed. So I can safely say I don't know what I'm talking about in this stuff. Knight to f8 from Pia. So this is why I'm saying the Queen's Gambit declined is a very strategic opening. It's all about maneuvering your pieces. And in maneuvers, you're kind of allowed to move the same piece more than once because you're trying to optimize their placement. After pawn to e3, Pia placed knight to e6, attacking the bishop. We love to capture a bishop and trade for a knight. Unfortunately, we were not allowed to do so. The bishop retreated. And now Pia goes pawn to g6. And this is a standard plan in this opening. Because after bishop to d3, Pia goes knight to g7. And here the idea is that even though this knight has taken the longest of journeys, it's actually pretty effective if black is allowed to, on the next move, go bishop to f5. This is the goal. Basically, everything you've done the past couple of moves has been with the intention of trying to get a trade between the light squared bishops. And the reasoning behind this is that black has put pretty much every single pawn on the light squares. And then those pawns will stand in the way of the bishop. But that's not going to be a problem if you trade the bishop off. Dinara not interested in allowing Pia an easy way out here with her bishop problem. Pawn to g4 gets the green star for her, and she takes control of that f5 square, preventing the plan that Pia spent so much time facilitating. And now if Pia castles, then Dinara can go with her king to the opposite side, and she's gotten a head start on her pawn advances towards the black king. Okay, very, very interesting development in that game. And the thing I said about Dinara wanting to play it safe to secure a match win, that was probably wrong. I'm going to amend my statement to saying that Germany wants to squash the Swedes. They're going for the 4-0 win right here. Okay, in the meantime, we've had a development in Anna's game. The good news is that she did take the pawn. She did realize that her best hope of surviving this is just taking as many pawns as possible and then hoping that her opponent messes up later on. The bad news is that Josefina then played rook to b1, which was the only good move, and she played it pretty much instantly. And now queen takes a3, which is a very natural move to make as black, because number one, you're offering to trade queens at a point where you have 2 pawns more than your opponent. In addition, you're taking away one of the white pawns that were blocking your pawn from trying to become a new queen. Queen takes this pawn on the side of the board, makes the most sense by far. The problem is that it's instantly losing after queen back. Because it turns out the threat here of the bishop moving back to attack the queen doesn't have that many free spaces to go to. The rook is controlling all of this area, the queen controlling, the knight is here, the queen is here, the queen is here, the bishop is here, knight is here. The queen basically doesn't have available squares to go to. The only place it can go is to the e7 square. But if you do that, the knight comes in And now the queen is standing in the path of the bishop. The bishop is unable to take out the knight. And if you have to move the king instead, it's a checkmate on the king on move 18. So big drama right now. Anna is in a losing position. She played a very, very dangerous opening, and she did not know enough of the theory of the computer analyzed, pre-analyzed variations. But we're still hopeful that she could get away from this because she's about to capture a second pawn. And sometimes, you know, even though the computer says it's winning, humans are not computers. And if your opponent makes a mistake when you're up by 2 pawns, then you can go from losing to winning just like that. That being said, queen takes on a3. The queen is getting trapped and it's game over. So the move Anna needs to play to keep this game going is queen takes on g2 instead. And the advantage of this move is that there are a lot more squares that the queen has available, and white doesn't have those same plans of trapping the queen on this side of the board. But to my human eyes, queen takes pawn on a3 feels more natural because you're trying to initiate a queen trade. Okay, she's about to move. This is the big moment. Is she gonna fight with her back against the wall, but with 2 extra pawns, and one mistake from the opponent could turn everything around? Or is she gonna lose instantly? I think she sees the queen trap. I think the fact that Josefina played so quickly actually makes it more likely that Anna realizes that the queen will get stuck on the side of the board. No. GG's. I don't know why chess.com is giving that an X instead of a double question mark. Okay, someone in chat I thought was making a reasonable argument. So if queen to e2, you can go with the bishop, check on the king. King moves. And then after castles, if the bishop moves to attack the queen, you can move the bishop to attack the king in return. Is that the argument that was made? This makes sense to me though. The problem is when the king is forced to the f2 square, it's also opened up for the rooks along the back rank. So here the rooks can just move to take out the queen. Yeah, the queen is just stuck. Here's the thing, if white doesn't go queen to e2, then Anna is not just okay, she's better. So the benefit of just capturing pawns like a maniac is that if your opponent makes a mistake, the mistakes are very, very punishing. After having given away 2 pawns, you have to be super accurate in order to justify your sacrifices. Why are coaches allowed during tournament? What should they do? Technically, they're not coaches, they're team captains. But a lot of, especially on the women's team, the you often combine the coach and team captain job. Basically, the team captain's job is to be a representative of the player in case of a conflict, which doesn't happen very often. The main role of the team captain is to sign the team match sheet after the match, basically acknowledging the result of the match. Must be more pressure for the players that the coach is walking up and down. The coach is only allowed to walk behind their own players. That is an actual rule. So that was actually implemented after the cheating scandal of the 2012 Chess Olympiad, or 2010. 2010. But yeah, let's just say it's a lot more intimidating having Magnus watch your games than having a team captain do it. That's my opinion. Josefina found the move. Yeah, but she was gonna find the move. There wasn't really any doubt to it. She's played a fantastic game. I think once you find this rook move, I thought maybe this rook move is a bit tricky. But once you find that one, it's because you realize that giving up this pawn is okay. And the only reason that was okay was queen to e2. I'm pretty certain she saw this move before playing this move. Is it time to resign now? No, we shouldn't resign. But we are going to lose the queen, unfortunately. Can you elaborate on the cheating scandal? There was a player on the French Open team, Sebastian Feller, who he had cheated in other tournaments as well, but he hadn't been caught yet. And he played the Chess Olympiad for France. And his co-conspirator was the captain of the French team. And the captain would leave the playing venue to find a cell phone or something, and then send text messages with a third co-conspirator in France who would relay the best moves that Feller could play. And then the team captain would know the best move. And then the team captain would use a code they had agreed on in advance based on where he placed himself. And that would relay the move to the player. It was not, they were not caught during the tournament. Feller won a medal as being one of the best fourth board players in the whole tournament. I don't remember if he won gold, but I think he did. It was like a 5,000 euro prize. And then they were caught later on because the third co-conspirator in France was using a cell phone paid by the French Chess Federation. And then the French Chess Federation asked, why are you sending so many text messages to Russia in the middle of the chess Olympiad or something like this. It was a huge deal. There was a trial, a criminal trial in France. I'm not sure whether Feller got jail time or not, but it was a big deal. When was that? 2010. Amateurs? Yeah, it was not the most impressive scheme. And yet it almost worked. Fowler got a suspended 6 months sentence. Someone in chat is saying. Sounds about right. He got 6 months? No, he only has to serve the time in prison if he does another crime later on. Does the US not have those suspended sentences? It's very common in Norway. Probation, is that what you call it? 6 months probation? What about pushing a pawn to f5 or d5? I agree. I think that's the only chance. But the problem is the en passant rule. We need to chase the white knight away from its amazing placement in the center. But if we go pawn to f5, there's the rule that when a pawn moves 2 steps, you can capture it as if it only moved 1 step. If you have a pawn capable of doing such a trade. So here the en passant move saves the day for white. But we can do this, allow the en passant thing to happen, and then have the other pawn. Because white can't do it 2 times, right? If you lure the white pawn out of position, then you can do the attack on the queen afterwards. The problem here is that if you try this trickery, you have opened up a lot around the black king. And here white's pawn can just continue capturing further, threatening to get a new queen, so we got to take that one out. And then the queen comes in, check on the king. There's no pawns remaining to block that check. So you got to move away. But then the bishop comes in, check. And if you move the king up, the queen comes in. Oh, actually, yeah, the queen comes in. But then you get the queen back. Oh, you're actually... Computer's saying there's a weird way here for white to win, but here you're pretty close to saving yourself. But maybe knight here is a bigger problem. No, here also you can... maybe this is the best attempt. Computer's saying there's many ways white can win, but, you know, there's many ways white cannot win as well. And also we could try the same idea, but different execution. We can try pawn to d5, attacking the knight, the en passant move, and then pawn to f5. This is maybe better because then we keep the pawn on g6, which means we don't have to be as afraid of the queen coming in. Although the problem here is that the queen is trapped here. Yeah, because now we don't have that influence from our bishop. Because the white pawn is standing in the way. The queen has nowhere to go. Just every square has been taken under control. Yeah. That's a GG's right there. We're running out of attempts to try and figure this out. Yeah, no, it's just over. Do you think she realizes the queen is trapped? I think she realizes now, but I would have preferred if she realized on the previous move. That would have been better. How are the other boards doing? We actually haven't looked at our overview so far today. We've been so infatuated with the cameras. I didn't. Oh, I was working on fixing the cameras, so I forgot to flip the boards. Although we would kind of prefer to watch things from Germany's perspective on the Kremlin boards right now, because there's not good news. Okay. Inna has a weird pawn structure, but she probably wouldn't go into this situation if it wasn't part of her preparation. I really like Black's position on board 4, but unfortunately Germany has the black pieces on board 4. Lavinia has given away one of her bishops, and yeah, I miss it. I would have preferred to have a bishop that could control the dark squares compared to what we're looking at. So right now, Sweden is significantly worse on every board other than Inna's. And Inna's position is just very difficult to evaluate because she has doubled pawns in the middle of the board, and they're not looking great. And then Pia's position doesn't feel that bad, but the computer is very pessimistic. The computer was very impressed with Dinara's previous move, that pawn move up. So yeah, let's check in with her actually. This is an old video. So I guess every time we reload the video, it needs to go dark and then get back. Yeah, because here we see the bishop is differently placed than earlier. That move, pawn to g4, that Dinara did, that was such a good move. Controlling the f5 square, and Pia had made such an effort, such a long journey with her knight to utilize that square. And now it's a bit unfortunate that she's not going to be able to use it. And in addition, the computer keeps saying that white should just castle to the queen side and black should castle to the king side. So this could get really exciting, right? With the kings going to opposite sides of the board. And maybe I'm being too pessimistic here for Pia, because Pia's plan of just pushing the pawns forward towards the white king is pretty straightforward. And it's not entirely clear how white is going to continue their attack in return. Because anytime white tries to advance this pawn, well, then you're giving away the control of the f5 square. So now Pia will be able to execute her plan. And if Dinara then tries to push the other pawn forward, well, then she loses the protection of the g4 pawn, and Pia can capture it. And once that pawn is captured, yet again, the f5 square is available for black's pieces. The more I'm looking at this, the more I'm feeling like maybe Pia can just castle and just be unafraid of... oh, actually, now I'm realizing what white should do. So castles from both. And then bishop back, pawn up. Something like this seems sensible to me. But now I'm scared about this move, pawn to f4. Because then you can follow up with... yeah, bro. We want to just keep pushing stuff. Something like this, trying to open up towards the white king, but then this pawn continues forward, attacks the black bishop, pushes the bishop out of position, and then you start wondering if there's not some sacrifices you can make. Actually, you can't really just sacrifice here just like that, because black has a good amount of pieces close to the king. Even though there are no pawns in front of the king right now, there's a sufficient amount of defensive pieces making sure the king is safe. Okay, the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm thinking the computer is massively overestimating white's position. And once Dinara chooses to castle, which she kind of has to do at some point anyway, right? Because she can't castle to the king side anymore now that she pushed her pawn 2 steps forward. So the one thing I'm a bit critical of with this bishop to e6 move, it probably doesn't matter, but I'm concerned that the reason Pia did this is because she wants to try and castle to the queen side herself. But this is a position where the black king is safer with all of this around it than the white king is safe with all of this stuff. Because frankly, black has 3 pawns and white only has 2. So it makes sense that the black king is more safe because you got more pawns to help you out. So I think as long as Pia castles to the king side and Dinara castles to the queen side, this is going to be a super interesting game and one where Pia should have chances to win it. Okay, we're gonna move back to Anna's game, but same situation as it's been since 5 minutes into the game. A very dangerous opening played by Anna, and she did not know it well enough. Queen to e7 asks Galaxy, but Galaxy also gets a reply in chat from Age that the problem with the queen has 1 safe square on the board. The problem is that safe square means that the queen is blocking its bishop. And now when the knight comes in to give a check on the king, the bishop is no longer able to take the knight because of the queen. And if the king moves, the bishop comes in, and it's a beautiful 18 move checkmate. Are there any girls above 2600 in classical rating? I mean, there's Judith Polgar, who is the best female player ever in chess. Her rating might not be active, but if she were to play just one game, she would reactivate her rating, and it's I think it's still way above 2600. Hu Yifan has also been way above 2600. And also, like, what's her name? Damn it, I'm blanking on all the girls. She was in Stavanger. I saw her this year. Yu Ven Yun. She's currently below 2,600, but she's been above. And so has Goryachkina and Anna Musichuk. If you go to 2700chess.com, you can see a list of the highest ratings ever achieved. The live ratings by female players. Judith Polgar, number 1, with 2735. At a time when 2735 was worth more than it is today. She was top 10 in the world with that rating. Hu Yifan, 2687. Kuneru Humpi, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Kuneru, 2625. Goryachkina, 2616. Musichuk, 2608. And Yu Ven Yun, also 2608. So six girls have been above 2600. What causes ELO inflation? Well, now they're talking about ELO deflation. But the ratings today are definitely higher than they were 20 years ago. But then you can discuss whether that's a true inflation or whether it's just people getting better. I don't know. I'm not a statistician, and all the people who are interested in stats and has chess as a hobby is currently busy yelling at Kramnik. So the research has halted. Why is the eval bar 1-0? Oh yeah, sorry, because I was illustrating a line that could end in a checkmate. Probably people are getting better. Yeah, I'm sure they are. But then the argument is made that if the people back in the day had the tools that we have today, well, then they would be better too. And so, which I think is a pretty good argument. The truth of the matter is that rating over time cannot be compared because the player pool is different. I have the same argument with the NBA. Yeah. Well, it's a classic. You cannot compare the GOATs from different eras, right? Pia's opponent castled. Yes. And I think this is pretty exciting for Pia. If Pia now castles to the king side, it's going to be a very, very exciting game. Let me see if I'm doing some adjustments on the camera. Maybe it might be that it's some of my settings making a problem. Ooh, behind Pia right now. No. That's probably one of the arbiters. Never mind. I thought I recognized her, but I was wrong. Never mind. Let me go to Anna's board as well. See if I can adjust the camera settings. How did you think it was? I'd rather not say. Because I was very wrong. Who's in Team Sweden? Well, right now in the picture, we have the eyes of board 2 player Ina Agrest on the far left. In the center, we have Anna Kramling. Behind her is Lavinia Valchu. I'm not entirely sure how that's pronounced. Valchu, I'm guessing. And behind Lavinia is Juan, the captain. And then on the other side of our camera, outside of frame, is the number 1 player, the key to the team, Grandmaster Pia Kamling. Can we map out the full sequence if Anna goes bishop b4? Well, bishop to b4, check on the king, king moves. The problem is you have to make a move, and you have to make a move when there are no good moves available. So here's something like castles, rook attacks queen, queen moves, rook attacks queen, and the queen is trapped. GG's. Who's the team behind Anna's dad? I want to say Tunisia based on the flag. I don't know. They're playing against Angola. So that you can just check who's playing against Angola. Angola is playing Tunisia, yes. Oh, chess boys, we do love our flags. What's the captain's role? To sign the papers after the game is done. Anna's already dead. I mean, her position is losing. But she is very much alive for the time being. What if he doesn't? Well, then the appeals committee gets involved. Well, if you don't accept the result of the match, you have to lodge an appeal. Simply make one of the players captain. Well, yeah, so if the captain is not there, they usually allow that the last remaining player signs off on the result. Signing off on the result is usually not a controversial thing. Anna seriously needs to develop her pieces. Well, she seriously needed to do that like 10 moves ago. Now it's a bit too late. What if a player dies during the game? We've actually talked about this before on this channel, and chat didn't like it. Chat thought it was a morbid topic. But, you know, it happens. It has happened. I think one guy... I mean, normally you lose the game if you die. But I think there was one guy who tried to resign as his opponent went into cardiac arrest. So that's impressive. Winning while dead. Is queen d3 a good move now? No. The queen would just be captured. Like, Anna's position is completely hopeless. Her queen has nowhere good to go. And the game is basically over. I'm sorry to give you this dose of reality. Uh, Cause Dad, if you lose a bishop, you still lose the game. And frankly, you're losing more than a bishop there. We're at the point where losing a bishop, it's not a huge success. The good sport thing to do would be a draw offer if the guy is dying, but he's not in a position to accept the draw offer. If you want to give your opponent their last win, you have to resign. Because for a draw offer to be accepted, the guy has to be, available for decision making. Okay, let's move on. Even I'm thinking this is becoming a bit dark at this stage. Is there any point in trying to take compensation for the queen? Yes. So I think the best choice here is bishop check, get your king to safety, and then even though the opponent manages to trap your queen, we're hoping that we can end up in a situation where this black pawn is 2 steps away from becoming a new queen. And we've opened up along the edge of the board so that if there's a trade here, the rook afterwards can come forward and attack in towards the queen and the king. So this feels like the best chance, in my opinion. Because whenever you have a pawn so close to becoming a new queen, your opponent could blunder. Of course, Anna's opponent has 78 minutes remaining. So a blunder is not likely. But yeah, that's kind of what we're clutching to. Also, if Anna had spent all of this time before she got her queen trapped, that would also be nice. So this is a good illustration of why it's not just about spending the least amount of time when it comes to time management. It's about spending the least amount of time while still getting the right decision. And some positions are more difficult than others. Now she's spending time out of panic, but then it would have been better for her to spend this amount of time on the previous move, before the queen got trapped. Good point coming in here from Age. What about bishop check, king moves, and then bishop to a6? The idea here would be, because you're putting pressure against this c4 pawn, it means that if the rooks now attack against the queen can escape via the pawn that is also attacked by the bishop. The problem here is that even though you don't lose the queen in this variation, you do lose your bishop. And note which bishop. It's not the bishop that's moving on the same colored squares as all the pawns. No, the bishop you're losing is the bishop that moves on the dark squares, which is where the knight can jump in here, the bishop can move in here. It's a complete freaking disaster. And so even though Anna managed to save her queen, the position is still completely hopeless. Her opponent can capture this pawn, can get the knight in, can get the bishop pointing towards the king, then capture this pawn afterwards. Maybe it's the best way of prolonging the game, but salvation it is not. What if bishop a6 first? Well, if bishop a6 first, then there's bishop to c1. So the trapping the queen with the rooks, that's only when the check happens so that the king moves up and the rooks are protecting each other. Plan A here is to go bishop back, because then the queen still doesn't have any available moves. Oh, and if you now try to give check and check and survive this way, that's a good plan. That's legitimately a good plan. But the problem is the king can instead move to the side. And now there are no more checks and your queen is under attack. Yeah. What if she moved the queen all the way back to e7? Yeah, the problem with this, so the queen does have one available square, but then the queen is blocking the bishop's path, allowing the knight to come in with check. And normally we wouldn't be afraid of this knight move because the bishop would just take it out. But when the queen has moved itself in the way, you have to move the king instead. And then if you move the king, the bishop comes in and checkmate. It's a very beautiful checkmate, it must be said. From an aesthetic point of view, I do wish the game will end like this, but more likely Anna's gonna spend every single minute she has on the clock. She's gonna realize she cannot save her queen. She's going to lose her queen and then resign. Oh well. How are the others doing? So earlier I was saying I was pretty optimistic about Pia's position, and she played some of the same stuff that I was talking about. I was saying that if white castled to the queen's side, Pia should castle to the king's side. However, before castling, Pia played this knight back. And I'm not a big fan of that. I thought the knight was well positioned where it was because it had that pressure in towards the g4 pawn. But Pia instead retreated. It did get the green star from the chess engine, so I guess the chess engine is fine about it. And after the bishop didn't want to trade with the black bishop. And then Pia castled. And now knight to e5. My concern is that Pia is a bit slow to start her counterattack with the pawn on the other side of the board. And in fact, in many of the variations, moving the knight up to the e4 square was kind of an important resource for black. And now I'm concerned that if she just pushes this pawn up to a5 and starts continuing here, white has a plan they wouldn't necessarily have had otherwise, which is pawn up to f3. And now the pawn is defending its buddy on g4. And then if Pia continues rushing up on the right side, then now white can do the same rushing on the opposite flank because they've kept this g4 pawn protected. And so this strikes me. Oh, and here computer says you don't even have to move this pawn. You just continue rushing as white. And then you use the standard trick of hiding your king behind an enemy pawn. So now the queen cannot come in and give a check because the pawn is in the way. And instead what's happening is that white's pieces over here are just devastating in towards the black king. Maybe this plan would have been good for white even. So I was saying here, I wanted Pia to just castle and then rush the pawns. Ah, yeah, and here's the difference. Here, white would have had to move the bishop out of the way and then push the pawn forward. And even if you push the pawn forward, now black has a bit more defensive pieces around there because you didn't move your knight back. And so a similar situation. Here computer says pawn to h5. That is incredibly calm defending. But yeah, I think it reinforces what I said, that even though the computer gave this knight to d7 a green star, I think it was a big mistake moving pieces away from the defense of the king and also forcing white to move the bishop back, which in turn has opened up for white's pawn on the edge of the board to just rush forward and create the attack. In these kind of positions where the kings have gone to opposite sides of the board, like getting one move wrong can be the difference between winning and losing. Time and the efficiency of your attack is so important that it can turn the whole situation around if you get it wrong. How did we get the camera today? The Swedish team is playing on one of the higher boards in the entire tournament, and they're playing against the number 8 team in Germany. So it has to do with the team doing well, so that we made it into the match boards where the organizers have cameras. Irvin, don't get me started. Anna's about to lose a game in 18 moves, and she's got 87% accuracy. Sure. tell me about how this accuracy percentage works. How quiet is it in that hole? It's not super quiet. No one's talking, but you can usually hear a lot of coughing and stuff like that. And there's like a constant buzz. Often just people whispering and the sound picking up somewhere. I don't know. I think all the teams are in the same hole. It's gigantic. Unfortunately, we lost the overview camera, but it's a huge venue. There's a crazy amount of people in that room. Relaxing music to overlay the coughing, well, then people would be annoyed because then you wouldn't be able to concentrate. Some normal sounds people don't really take too notice of. But if there's a constant music going, that's going to disturb your concentration. Anna already losing? Yeah. We're watching PS game for a little bit because Anna has been thinking for over 30 minutes. She made a big blunder on the previous move that got her queen trapped. And now she's trying to figure out how to get out of the queen trap, but it's too late. Are there certain things that people do over the board that bother you? I think my biggest issue in chess these days is that there are some people who believe it's okay to use snooze during the game. Uh, and I can smell it. And people who use snooze, they're like, oh no, it's not cigarettes. It doesn't bother other people. And it's like, yeah, it does. What is snooze? It's a Swedish thing, actually, that Norwegians then started using, and now it's popular all around the world. It's chewing tobacco, I think is the technical term. Spitting tobacco, okay, similar. I'm not familiar with how it works. I just know that the people who use it usually are not very, they don't really care what other people are bothered about it because it's not smoking. So they think that, no, I'm not disturbing anyone. You're crazy to think that. As I smell it popping out of their. Up 2 pawns, but an opponent +4 advantage. Yes. Uh, Being up 2 pawns is the best thing we can say about Anna's position right now. But her queen is actually trapped, which is surprising because it looks like the queen has a lot of scope in several directions. But it turns out if the queen goes all the way home, the knight comes in for a checkmate on black's king. And all the other squares for the queen, all of these are taken under control by the white pieces, unfortunately. So the queen is trapped, and Anna's been sitting there for ages trying to find a way to get the queen out, but it's too late. What's the best move according to the engine? Bishop to b4. But at the end of that variation, you still lose your queen. So, best of a bad bunch. Can we get an overview? Yes, you can. This is the current situation in the Swedish match. Ooh, big developments between Inna and Pets. Inna has captured a pawn on the king's side, which has allowed Pets to have a rook opening in towards the white king. That does not seem great to me, but the computer thinks the position is still equal. Inna's game is on the upper right hand side. Pia is on the upper left, approximately equal, but a very intriguing situation since both players have put their kings to opposite sides of the board. So we're expecting both Pia and Dinara to try and attack their opponent. Lavinia on the bottom right is dead lost. She's about to lose her castling rights, in addition to her opponent having the bishop pair. And yeah, the white king being stuck in the center is not gonna be good for her long term. So Anna and Lavinia are losing their games. Inna and Pia are in some trouble, is my impression. And that sums up the day for the Swedish team. It's a tough match going up against the number 8 team, Germany. But I guess... Oh, sorry. That's the wrong one. But I guess it is... that's what happens when you play a good team. Bishop to a6 on the board. And now after bishop back to c1, that's the game. If the queen comes back, the knight check, king has to move, and then queen to f2. We talked about this queen to f2 move earlier. The great idea behind this is that the queen is coming in to threaten checkmate on the king. The only way for the king to get an escape square is to move the queen. And if the queen moves up, well, then the queen gets captured by the white queen, which is why the queen's placement matters a great deal. If the white queen goes one step forward in order to try and get the checkmate, then the black queen can move up, and when the white queen comes in, the king can escape, at least temporarily. But yeah, queen f2 is the killer, because then there's no safe square for the black queen to move to, which means the white queen will be able to give the checkmate afterwards. Okay, queen to c1 played. Bishop to c1 played, attacking the queen. The queen moves all the way back. The knight comes in, check on the king. The king has to move. This position is very recognizable because we had it on the analysis board an hour and a half ago. And little did we know that this was precisely what was going to happen. And Anna's going to lose this game with her opponent having more than an hour up on the clock. And queen to f2 is the finishing blow from Josefina, who has played a fantastic game. Yes, she played all the right moves. But it did help that Anna seemed to be unfamiliar with a very tricky opening. And yeah, I'm a bit unhappy about Anna's play simply because I talked about this for the other black games she's played, that against the queen pawn openings she plays something super solid and strategic, and then against king pawn openings she plays one of the trickiest variations in the already aggressive Sicilian. And it just, I don't think it fits her style. And if you're going to play it, then you need to know it inside and out. And today's game was a clear indication that this incredibly complicated opening is not something she knows by heart. And the result is then that she gets checkmated in 20 moves. Why did she play that opening? Because it's her opening. She played the same opening yesterday and won. And then she played the same opening on day one. And she won that one as well. So she's playing it because it's her opening. But when Josefina, who's a women's grandmaster, Josefina's openings has a much tougher punch than the openings of the 1900s Anna played previously. And to be honest, Anna doesn't need to change her opening, but she does need to maybe be a bit more aware that the higher rated opponents are going to know this stuff very well. So maybe you choose something a bit more solid only against players who are really good in the opening, such as Josefina. Just play the cow. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. Oh, good God. But I will say this. If she had played the cow, she would not have been crushed as badly as she was today. The cow would actually have been better than this. It would still be terrible, but it would have been better. That's the nicest thing anyone has ever said about the cow. It's definitely the nicest thing I have ever said about the cow. So you're saying cow is better than the Sicilian? No. That is not at all what I'm saying. The opening that Anna plays is a good one. Like, very, very good players play this stuff as black. The problem is, if you make one mistake, you get just completely destroyed. And that's what happened today. So it's a viable opening, but then you gotta know like 15 moves of theory and 20 different variations. Would the Caro-Kann not be a good opening for Anna? Maybe, but switching opening is super difficult. I would like to see her play the Sveshnikov. Because she's saying she likes the Sveshnikov, and then she might as well just play it proper. Because right now she's playing like a backdoor way of getting into the Svesh. But she could just play it properly. Anna played the Sicilian Four Knights defense. What about the Dutch? The Dutch is not an opening against the king pawn. What about the King's Indian? I don't, once again, not an opening against the king pawn. Okay, we've had a move. Is it the killer Queen F2? No. Queen to B2. Are we going to have some hope here? Now the queen can move away. Now the queen can move away and give a check on the king and create an escape square. Pawn forward attacks the queen, and there's also a concern about this one being under attack. So we'll move the queen back to defend. And now computer says queen up, check. Yeah, and then there's like 5 different ways of winning here. Bishop here, pointing towards the king. But then we can go pawn to f5, and we're creating an escape for the king. This was not the most accurate. This was not the most accurate play from white. Queen to f2 would have just killed the game instantly. Now Anna's gonna have a couple of moves. She's up by 2 pawns, so as long as she's not getting checkmated, there is a very limited amount of hope. It was silly offering her the chance to check. I mean, queen here definitely was better, but it wasn't entirely obvious. Because maybe she was thinking queen here, you can go pawn c5. And then if the queen captures the pawn, then actually computer now says it's equal. Okay, never mind. Better for white, but not winning for white. Because now you can give this check, and then you can take out the knight because you're also attacking the queen. And that's a big difference here. Yeah, that might be the reason. Pawn to c5 made it slightly tricky. So queen to b2 instead. The idea now is that after queen check and pawn to g3, you can't capture the knight because then you're losing your queen. The reason black could capture this knight in the previous variation was because the queen had been lured to the c5 square so that the bishop would then attack the queen. I have no idea why Anna is thinking right now, though. Literally only one move that doesn't lose instantly. She needs to create space for the king to run away. So the queen needs to get out. And there's only one square the queen can move to without being instantly captured. You gotta move. If you're gonna get a chance later in the game, you're gonna like having that extra time to try and figure it out. And any other move is just resigning instantly. I'm very confused why she's thinking right now. Bishop to b5? Yeah, but then your bishop just gets captured. I don't see, like... If you're gonna have any chance of survival, it's just trying to hold on to the fact that you're up by 2 pawns. And then either your opponent checkmates you or they don't checkmate you. But you can't be going around giving away free bishops. That's not gonna be the solution. You just gotta let your opponent attack your king. If it's checkmate, it's checkmate. You couldn't really do anything about it. But if there's any sort of hope, it's gonna be with the king somehow wiggling its way out of trouble. What about pawn to f6? White is threatening checkmate in one move. You have to create an escape for the black king. If you do anything other than moving the queen, it's checkmate. Okay, she does end up playing queen h4, but she spends 5 minutes on it, it feels like. g3 played instantly in return. That was the only winning move, actually. Any other move here than g3 and black would be better, because then black would have time to take out this knight. So white needed to do the counterattack on the queen, because now there's no time to capture the knight. Okay, and now there's a threat to the pawn on f7. So once again, I'm not sure why you're thinking. There's only one move available to protect that pawn. This tournament is being played in Budapest, Hungary. Currently being flooded, according to the Norwegian news broadcasts. But I think maybe Budapest has escaped the worst of it. King to e7 protects the pawn. Yeah, sure it does. But then you lose your queen. From a logic standpoint, like the queen is under attack, the pawn is under attack. How do you save both? You have to move the queen and protect the pawn. Rumor has it Magnus sailed to the match this time. Someone was making a joke that Magnus would swim to the match. She must be frustrated. Yeah. But if you're frustrated, just resign. But then again, why would you resign when you're up by 2 pawns? I think it's not frustration. She's just in shock. Because frustration, you would just move and see what happens. I'm starting to. I'm not even sure she's seen that this pawn is under attack. This is Pets in front. Yes. In front of Anna, we can see the German number 2 player, Grandmaster Elizabeth Pets. Is commentating Anna giving you an ulcer? No, I mean, today time management doesn't really matter, right? Because the game was over after 15 moves. Whether she spends a ridiculous amount of time after that doesn't really change, well, anything. But the fact that she's spending so much time without playing this queen to h5 move is indicative of her just not feeling great today. And of course, I don't know if she was feeling good before the game, but you can also start feeling bad during the course of the game. And the beating she's gotten so far has probably affected her confidence just a little. Oh God. Uh, what? Can we see the face of the opponent, please? Her opponent has so far spent 1 minute on thinking whether to take a free queen. Lavinia is looking at Anna's position, wondering if she realizes her queen is under attack. And now Lavinia is counting the number of pieces. And she's going to be unhappy when she realizes that Anna has just given away her queen for a singular bishop. And 2 pawns. And Pets cannot stop looking at the game. Okay, Pets is done. Josephine is still thinking about whether to capture a queen with a pawn while her own queen is not under attack. Okay, she takes the queen. Honestly, about time, in my opinion. And then Anna moves her bishop. At least her king is safer now. That knight was an absolute monster inside Black's half. Getting rid of it was a great achievement. Although a queen was a bit of a steep price to pay. She has the bishop pair. Yeah, this is true. I'm just concerned she's not going to have the bishop pair for very long, though. Because now queen to c3 will see white preparing to trade off the bishop, which is not great news. That knight was a princess? Well, still, rather the queen than the princess. The queen knows stuff, being around the block for a while. The princess still has the ignorance of youth. Queen to c2 played. I'm actually shocked by that move. Absolutely wild not putting the queen on the c3 square so that you can try and trade off this bishop. This bishop is genuinely strong right now. Ooh, computer's recommending rook f3. That's going to be a problem. The pawn is 2 steps away from becoming a new queen. We need a new queen at this point. But at the same time, there's a conversion of the white forces. Convergence? Maybe. Can you blunder in a lost position? Yeah, I would say so. There's a difference between the position being lost and the position being over. You always strive to make it as tricky for your opponent as you can. One minute, 30 seconds on a sweet spot. Yeah, I think even that is not going to save her here. It's just a flesh wound. Let's go. That is actually Magnus's favorite movie. The reason I'm so familiar with all the quotes from the Holy Grail is because Magnus basically forces everyone he works with to watch that film. That one, and then there's a Norwegian parody film about a boy band. Get ready to be boys voiced or something. That one I've also watched with him at training camps. Tis but a scratch. The more accurate transcription of the film. Yeah, rip pawn. We wanted to get a new queen. We're not getting a new queen. And Anna resigns the game. She made it to move 20. I think that's the best thing that can be said. This was a very one-sided ordeal. Can we go to overview? Nah, we're gonna watch until Anna is out of our cameras. And then we can go. So what's happening now? Notice how Anna took something out of her accreditation badge. Basically, you get the badge and then you get this like green card. And only players with the green card is allowed to walk around in the venue. And the green card is taken away from you when you finish your game because you're not allowed to remain in the room after your game is finished. And now Anna is walking with Juan. It seems like they were chatting about something. Yeah, and they're gone. Yeah, can't pick them up on this camera either. Let's go to Pia. Ooh, question mark. That's not great. Coach support. I mean, after that game, I think we gotta. She needs dad support, not just coach support. Here we got Pia's game. Her opponent is to move. Pia has 25 minutes. Dinara has 39. So Pia's down 15 minutes. The computer is really liking White's position, but at the same time, the computer is recommending King to A1, which is somewhat of a mysterious move. I guess the point of this king move is that when Pia then challenges the white pawns and a trade happens. Oh, computer thinks this is better for Pia. I was thinking the idea was maybe to go into this without having the black queen point towards the king, but apparently that was not the case. Yeah, no, this King A1 move being recommended is very mysterious. Oh, we gotta change the score, unfortunately. 0-1. Okay, Pia's in trouble, but the moves being recommended for her opponent are weird. That's usually a good sign. Let's go to the overview. Oh gosh, Inna also has a question mark move. But if I'm entirely honest, I already didn't like it when she was trading pawns on the side of the board where she had her king. Pets has expertly exploited the opening of the king side, the right side of the board, and has both her rooks pointing down towards Inna's king. That's not great. Lavinia has managed to get her king out of the middle of the board. However, she has moved her king to an area where, yeah, the white pawns are not really close by the white king, even if the king got out of the middle. So Lavinia is still in significant trouble. Will we get an interview with Anna? Yes. But the past couple of days, she has preferred to go back to her hotel before calling in. So I'm expecting her to be another 10 minutes. Ooh, bishop to c1. That's a nasty one. Bishop to c3 played. And now on the next move, black will get the queen into this area as well. And then the bishop and the queen will be taking control of all the squares around the white king. It does not feel like Lavinia is going to survive this, if I'm honest. It looks highly problematic right now. And then in this game, ooh, this is a problem. Pawn to f3, good move by pets. The idea is that if the white pawn captures the black pawn, that will open up for the black queen to get into the heart of white's king side, supported by the rook attacking the white king. White's king can barely be expected, can hardly, be expected to survive that. So instead, Ina's gonna have to do something like pawn to f4 to try and keep things protected. But at this stage, if I'm Lizzie, I would probably start sacrificing stuff. And then the queen can come in, attack the rook in the corner, still try to make its way in this area around white's king. Looks very, very troublesome for Ina. So then the question becomes, are we gonna be on the wrong side of a 4-0 sweep, or is Pia gonna be able to save some dignity on board 1? Okay, Pia goes pawn to b6. She's trying to build up her pawns to start an attack down towards the white king. Seems reasonable to me. Once again, this move being recommended is king to a1. I'm not understanding anything of that. I'm expecting Dinara to continue with her plan. On her previous move, she played knight to e2. Now she's moving further over with that knight. Pia will try to start a counterattack on the other side. And then pawn to h4 maybe. Continue this attack. And when Pia continues forward, trying to create a pawn avalanche against the white king, computer says that the bishop, instead of just retreating, computer says the bishop can sacrifice itself to remove the pawns around the black king. And even though Pia has so many defensive pieces over here, computer says that this is hopeless long term. The attack continues, but the problem is white just crashes through with the rooks. And you want to avoid the trade between the pawns because you don't want to allow the rook to get into the game. But if you avoid the pawn trade, you have 2 white pawns rushing down towards your king. You're not going to survive that, especially not when both of those pawns have good rooks behind to support. Yeah, no, there are some scary possibilities roaming around here, unfortunately. It could be a 4-0 sweep. Ooh, Anna's in the chat. Disaster, she says. Yeah, no, it was a rough one. It looked like their team is strong. Yeah, this German team is one of the best in the competition. They're ranked as number 8. The France team that Sweden lost against previously, they are also very good, but not at the same level. Germany is even better than France. France was ranked 13th, while Germany is number 8. Who's top ranked on the women's side? China. China's a good guess because China would normally be the right answer, but China's playing without their 4 best players. But despite missing 4 of their best players, China's actually ranked number 4. And they have won all their matches so far. In fact, the captain of the Chinese team is even higher rated than some of the players on the team. I don't know how that works. The captain of the Chinese team. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Wait. No, it is the right one. The captain of the Chinese women's team is 2,402. And yet, some of the players are lower rated than that again. So, China has an incredible amount of good female players. Sweden wouldn't even be in the top 100 if not for Pia. That is not true. The Swedish team would be way lower ranked without Fide, without Pia, but I still think they would be in the top 100. Yeah, without Pia, Sweden would be about as bad as, well, they would still be a bit better than Denmark. They would be around number 50, and now they're number 33. Just casually getting some Dane Burns in there. That's how we do it. Denmark catching strays? No, that one was pretty accurately aimed and executed. But I will say this, without Pia, the Swedish women would be lower ranked than Norway. Where are you from? I'm Norwegian, Chris. Please update the score to 2-0. Oh my gosh. I can't do that before confirming what has happened. Lavinia has resigned. Yeah, there were just too many black pieces finding refuge close to the White King. And Lavinia has resigned her game. Okay, I'll update the result. 2-0 so far. Does the exact score matter? It matters a little bit because at the end of all the 11 rounds, a lot of teams are gonna have the same amount of match points in that they have lost and won the same amount of matches. And the way to distinguish the placements then is to look at how convincingly they won their matches or how close their losses were. So whether you lose 3-1 or 4-0 can significantly affect your tiebreak score. Josefina said she was prepared until A4, played this variation before against Anna in 2019. Oh wow, where are you getting your information? That's a lot of interesting stuff, Tannenbaum. Wouldn't it have been better to win just 2.5, 1.5 yesterday? No, it would have been much worse. What are you talking about? I just said winning more is better. 4-0 better than 2.5. It also gives more confidence. German team channel. They had a phone call. Damn. Germans getting on the call quicker than the Swedes. I guess when you're happy about your game, that's how it works. We're getting Anna in 2 minutes. She was there live. They have a German broadcast on site? Wow, they don't mess around, huh? German punctuality? Yeah, I guess. How come we have cameras today? Because we're playing on one of the top matches in the tournament because we're facing a really strong team in Germany. I wouldn't expect there to be cameras tomorrow, especially if it ends up being 4-0. Did Anna lose? Yeah, unfortunately she did, Topher, but she's coming in soon to talk about it. Although she did say that we're just going to do a quick interview. Something tells me she's quite disappointed at the moment. What's Sweden's current placement? It doesn't really matter this early into the tournament. There's still 6 more games to play. But since you ask, I am going to find the answer for you. Sweden is currently in 30th place, and they were ranked as the 33rd best team. So they're basically doing as expected. The Norwegian women are in 41st place, and they were ranked as number 35. And the Danish women are currently in 70th place, and they were ranked as number 55. In the lead currently is China. What is Germany? Well, Germany must be close to Sweden, right? Because we're playing against them. Germany is currently number 24, and they were ranked as number 8 at the start of the tournament. Another Danish stray? Yeah. If we have the opportunity to throw some shade on the Danes when it's so easy, we're gonna do it. This was the women's rankings. why it is, because well, we're following the women's tournament primarily. Okay, I'm gonna call Anna to see if she's around. Is Germany a big chess country in general? Yes. Germany is not really famous for having very strong players, but they have an incredible amount of players. In fact, Germany, other than Russia, is the country with the most players with chess titles. So they have a lot of very well. They don't have like lots of top 20 players in the world, but they have a ton of top, 1,000, 10,000 players. More than India? Yeah, way more than India, yeah. But India's chess boom has just started. I'm not expecting Germany to be ahead of India for the next 20 years. I always thought India had the most titles. India is kind of a bit of a fresh chess country. India's had a massive chess boom the last 10 years since the world championship match between Magnus and Vichy in Chennai. I feel like it probably started before then. It started probably when Vichy was became the world champion. But also like what's interesting about India is that almost all the good chess players, as I understand it, are from Tamil Nadu, which is the area of India, the region where Vichy is from. So Vichy, you cannot underestimate. It's impossible to underestimate the effect Vichy Anand has had on chess in India. Okay, Pia is sacrificing her pawn. Ooh, and the pawn was captured. Oh, never mind. Pia is not sacrificed. Oh my god. Is this in real time? Is this happening in real time? Was the board lagging behind, or did this just happen that they were playing so quickly? Ooh, Pia's going for the queen trade. Okay, so pawn to c5. Pia's trying to open up down towards the white king. That makes sense. The pawn was captured, and now Pia could have recaptured the pawn. But it appears she was concerned about white just taking in the center. I thought maybe you just wanted to give that pawn away and point down towards the white king. But I guess there is a concern that the white queen will be incredibly well placed in the middle of the board afterwards. So Pia instead moves her rook over. Now this pawn cannot save itself because if it captures the black pawn, it will allow the black rook to capture the queen. And interestingly, Dinara didn't want to allow Pia to recapture here with the pawn, because then these pawns would have good control in towards the center of the board. So realizing that this pawn is impossible to defend anyway, Dinara continues forward in such a way that the pawn cannot capture, and so the queen captures instead. And now Pia is left with this classic IQP, isolated queen pawn, situation. So black has a somewhat worse pawn structure, but on the other hand, Pia has succeeded in opening up on that side of the board where the white king is. So it's going to be a lot harder for white to make their attack happen now when Pia already is putting pressure down on the opposite flank. And Wagner here with the white pieces, she was up by 15 minutes not too long ago, and now the time difference is down to just 2 minutes. So I feel like this has been a positive development for Pia. When did China become so good at chess? China's been pretty good since the, I want to say, late 90s. But China's been particularly good with the women. The Chinese women have just been, yeah, they have held most of the world championship titles for since like 98, I want to say. And the Chinese do have some good male players as well, such as the reigning world champion, Mr. Ding. Um, but the women has been in a different class before that. In the 1970s, there was no such thing as an Chinese grandmaster or an Indian grandmaster. Well, there was no such thing as a Norwegian grandmaster at that time either. So, I mean, that's just. There weren't a lot of grandmasters in the 70s. The title had just been invented. There's been a lot of countries who has come far since then. Got a take with the queen here? What do you mean? That Wagner should trade queens? I don't know. Trading queens doesn't look great to me. Because then it's going to be very easy for Pia to get her king in towards the middle afterwards. That being said, trading queens is one of the computer's top choices. I just don't see it, honestly. I think Pia's done really well here to fight back. There's still no such thing as a Japanese grandmaster. Yeah, that's true. But one of the best Japanese chess players is an absolute legend in Japan. Oh, the queens were traded. We can see it on the video. Well, why are the queens not traded on the board? Okay. Oh, never mind. I'll just put it in then. I think this is a good development for Pia. She's going to get her king into the middle so fast. Yeah, one of the best Japanese chess players is a legend in Japan because he's the GOAT at shogi. So he's incredible at 2 games. Hikaru? No, not what's his name? Nabu? Nabusan. But shogi is huge in Japan. I I don't know. I don't know if this is true, but I think shogi is about as big as chess is. It's just that shogi is only played in Japan, so we don't really experience it. Habu, yeah, Habu is the one. Habu's not the GOAT anymore. The greatest of all time can't just change like that from year to year, right? Have you tried learning shogi? Yes, because I my Peter Heine Nielsen, who is Magnus Carlsen's coach, um, he at some point he got really into shogi, and he also went to Japan with Habu and watched him play one of his world championship matches. And then Peter tried to help me learn, but I I couldn't really understand the pieces, the signs. So I got there's this children's version of shogi that I tried to learn, which is like a simplified version of the game. It's called something like Catch the Lion. No interview with Anna. It's coming, I think. She said in 10 minutes, 22 minutes ago. And then I called her 12 minutes ago and she didn't respond. I'll try calling her again. Yeah, I don't know. I think she might still be on the way back to her hotel. Okay. The trade of rooks have happened on the C file. Pia's plan is very clear. She needs to bring her king. Ooh, Wagner with bishop back. She's trying to point her bishop in towards the pawn in the center. Ooh, and she's also gonna be able to use her rook for that task. Oh, that's a good move. That's a very good move. The black pawn in the middle of the board, the one that doesn't have any pawns to defend itself, it's completely reliant on the defense from the pieces. But because of this black knight being so far out of play, this piece is unable to defend the pawn. And when white then puts three pieces into the defense, it's not going to help Pia that she has two defending, because white is going to outnumber them. And Pia's going to lose a pawn. No matter what Pia does, this pawn will be lost. Which, in fact, is why the computer is recommending this move pawn to d4. Computer is saying that if you're gonna lose the pawn anyway, you might as well just give it away. Oh no! Pawn to d4. If this pawn is oh gosh. If this pawn is captured, Pia can sacrifice her bishop on the edge of the board, but it's not really a sacrifice because it's luring the king out on the side of the board away from the protection of the bishop. And somehow Pia here manages not only not to lose a pawn, but she is the one who's attacking with her rook. Ooh, pawn to d4, big opportunity. She's gonna lose the pawn anyway, so she might as well just try to do it on her terms. Okay, Anna's calling. In my defense, I did try calling you like 2 times before.
No, Hammer. I'm literally laughing right now at this. Oh, Hammer, this was a disastrous game. I misplayed. I was gonna play Bishop A6 and I forgot and played A4 super quickly and then everything went down. It was horrible. I never want to think about this game again. Horrible game. I'm gonna throw it in the rubbish bin and I never want to see it again. Worst Olympiad game ever. I don't know what to say. Horrible.
Yeah, but at the same time, you lost not because you played bad moves, just because you forgot your preparation, though.
Yeah, but it
Is
was
that
like
better or worse than playing badly?
no, it's worse because I didn't even have a chance to play. I felt it was horrible. It was so stupid because I knew A4 was in theory, but then I was there and I was like, "Ooh, A4. Why don't I play this? This looks good." And I knew it was a plan that I can play later on. So I just thought it doesn't matter if I do it now or later. Like I thought I was gonna play Bishop A6 or Bishop E7 because I couldn't remember which of the two moves were theory because I had looked at this line Bishop A6, F5, Bishop E7 before the game. I've never
I'm
played A5, so I thought that I don't know.
I'm
I
waiting for
haven't
you
played
to
this.
breathe so that I can switch to the layout with the board.
Oh, okay. I'm breathing. Switch.
Yeah, done.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, here I just instantly played A4 because I I knew that this was not what I had looked at before. Like I remembered it very clearly because I knew that there were lines after Bishop E7 and F5 where A4 was a good move. So I knew in my head that this was not the order. But I thought this looks fantastic. Now I'm stopping her from going B3. I thought I go Bishop E7, maybe she goes B3. And so I thought with this, I'm stopping her from doing that and I get to do everything else that I want to do. I mean, it was so stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I don't stupid. I don't know, but this is the thing about this position, right? Is that it's too complicated to calculate. So you just either you know it or you don't know it. And
Yeah.
this is one of those positions where if you don't like have studied it very intently, you're just never going to be able to find the good moves.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's annoying because I was looking now at my prep and my prep here was Bishop A6.
Yeah.
I didn't think she was going to play A3, but I was like, okay, I'll look at it for a little bit. And then I looked at Bishop A6 and Bishop E7. So I was really happy that I had looked at it before. But then, yeah, I just played the wrong move. And okay, I should go Queen takes D2, which was initially what I was going to do as well, but I just missed Queen E2 for some reason. I just didn't
Yeah.
see it. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see Queen E2. I thought her plan was to try to trap my bishop after Queen takes A3, Queen takes A3, Bishop 8 takes A3. Yeah. And
Yeah.
C5. I thought this was her idea, but it's not, obviously, because this is good for me, which I calculated. But yeah. Yeah, I have Bishop A6, and then I thought I'm just winning. So I just didn't get it. I thought she had blundered with Bishop E3, because in my brain, I thought that she wasn't expecting me to go for all this. So I thought that she hadn't really prepared this, and I thought it was just, yeah. Especially because she fought for 15 minutes here, so I thought she just didn't really know what to do, and that there could be something here. And because I haven't played this position before, I didn't realize that this was as bad as it was. But after Queen takes B2, Queen takes
You haven't
A3, and
played
Bishop
this before?
E2.
Because Chad said that Josefina went to the German broadcast and said that she played this exact variation against you in 2019.
Yeah, but not with A3. We went into the main line with Bishop
Ah,
before and everything. Yeah. So that's what I thought she was gonna do. And this tournament she played C4, so I was looking at a lot of things before the game. But I thought she was, yeah. So I had mostly prepped the main line and C4 and the line that she played with it, because she's played it a bit lately. So I looked at very briefly because I thought, wait, what if she goes A3 to try to put me off? And then I looked at it, but I didn't look at it enough.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very
Yeah.
dangerous variation for black.
No, it is. Like if you don't know theory, it's just like yeah, and okay, at the end, I guess I shouldn't give my queen, but I thought I was getting checkmated. I didn't realize that I can go F5 maybe and not get checkmated. I guess that's what I should do, but I thought it was just over.
At that point, it's over anyway.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. I didn't realize that queen takes a was so bad. And when I went queen takes b2, I thought I can always go queen takes g2, which is what I should have done. Um, but yeah,
I mean,
I just
computer
missed
still
queen
thinks
a2.
it's winning for white after queen takes g2, but it's way more difficult in practical play, right?
Yeah. But I went crazy when I thought for 50 minutes I was trying after queen e2 to salvage it, and I was looking at all kinds of queen sacrifices and all kinds of crazy things, and I was going crazy by the board. Like I have never thought about so many different variations. I was really like, okay, Anna, let's save this. And I was trying to be as creative as I could, and I was about d5, f5. I was thinking about, bishop b4 check, and I was even thinking about c5, queen b4 check, and get the two passed pawns. And I guess everything was better than what actually happened in the game, but everything was losing in my brain.
Yeah, well, it was.
Yeah, I couldn't comprehend that I was just lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just tough. But I guess it was the opening. And I guess this is one of the other games where I will forever like learn this. I will never ever ever forget bishop a6 anymore. Like I will forever know this opening for the rest of my life because of how painful this loss was. But
Well,
it's
yeah,
just
but
annoying.
but even knowing bishop a6, right? Because when you play bishop a6, you move away from the f5 square. So then
Yeah,
your
but it's
opponent
totally
gets to play
fine.
f5, and it's freaking scary.
Bishop e7. And okay, I know f6 takes. I guess her best move is rook takes. I think this is what I was looking at.
Okay. Yeah, no,
And
this
okay, to
seems
be honest,
completely fine. Normal
yeah.
chess. You
No, I
can't
mean, okay,
castle
this is
here. You castling here is kind of, well, you have to do it, but it looks scary.
but that's why I'm so annoyed that I didn't play bishop a6. I had this in my computer now when I got back to the room. I was like, I have bishop a6. Why did I not, enter this?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
No, but it's still scary is my point. It's still super
it
scary.
is. But I'm gonna study it now. After
Yeah, yeah.
this interview, I'm gonna go and study it and I'm gonna learn this. And now nobody, like literally, if any other person in the history of the world plays knight takes c6 and enters this Sicilian, I will be happy. I will know more theory than anyone after this game. I will make it my life goal to learn everything in this opening and never ever ever lose another game with this. Yeah, I will make it my life goal, Hammer.
But can't you just play a Sveshnikov proper?
What? Why can I not enter this? This is fine.
This is scary as frick.
I mean, okay, it is a little bit scary, I suppose.
No, because when you're playing what you want to, you allow the Sveshnikov, right? So why not just play? Why not just play the normal move order for the Sveshnikov?
To b5, so I try to avoid bishop b5.
Yeah, but here's the thing: avoiding one move, it would be easier to learn something against this bishop move than it would be learning 500 moves of theory when your king is everything is undeveloped and your opponent is pointing their rook and queen and knight down on your king. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just
Yeah.
you do what you think is right, but I'm just throwing it out there that maybe bishop to b5, maybe trading a bishop for a knight is not the scariest thing in the world.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Because we did see your Sveshnikov yesterday, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't. Why did I do this? She was also expecting this. I could have avoided this. I didn't even think about it. That's very stupid. Yeah. You're right, Hammer. I will give you the rightness. You're right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
I will
I
do this from
realized
now
that
on.
right after a loss, it's not the best time to be coming in with suggestions, but that's the
No, it's
impression
okay.
that's what I was thinking watching this game was like, especially based after the good game you had yesterday, is that if you're happy with the
Yeah.
Svesh, just go into the Svesh.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I guess I just thought this was fine for me to enter, but yeah, no, you're right.
I played this
Um,
myself as Black. I was trying to get Alexandra to play this Fortnite's Sicilian thing, but
hmm,
because I have played it a bit and analyzed it a bit, I know it's freaking scary. And this A3
yeah,
move is like this is the scariest. Like it is legitimately the most scary thing. Like it's
yeah.
not the most popular move, but it's super scary.
Yeah, it is. I learned the lesson today of it. I don't think I've faced it in classical actually that much, just like once or twice in the past. But yeah, but it's what it is. But it's okay, Hammer. I had to do worse things. After the game, they put me up and said, Anna, can you and your opponent stand there and talk? And I thought it was gonna be an interview. And it wasn't an interview, they just wanted us to talk. And I was like, what? They didn't ask any questions. So they said, you're a professional streamer, talk. And I was like, what? So I started asking my opponent questions. Oh, how well do you think Germany's gonna do? What do I say? I have no idea what they're gonna do with this footage. It was horrible. And then they were like, yeah, so talk about how you're feeling. And I was like, well, I just lost to the woman that's standing next to me. I feel horrible. Like, what do you want me to say?
Well, that was a good comment. I would use that comment.
It was so bad. I really thought this was gonna be an interviewer, but it was just the two of us standing there and looking into the camera. And the worst part, Hammer, was that they said 3, 2, 1, and I go 3, 2, 1 for what? And then they said talk.
Were you live?
Yes, I think so. I don't know where this ended up. This was horrible. Absolutely horrible. Oh, yeah, so that was the worst part. So don't worry, I've already gone through the worst, Hammer. Nothing you say right now can be worse than that. It was the most awkward thing ever.
And
But yeah.
who was this? The organizers? Chess.com? Who?
I don't know. They were all wearing the orange volunteer shirts, and I thought, okay, I guess they're part of the organizing team. But what are they doing with this? I don't know who it was. It was like it was a proper camera and everything. So it was like a proper setup, you know?
Except
Yeah.
the interviewer. They were missing one key element.
Yeah. And then yeah, and yeah, it was quite an interesting thing. And then I was trying to run away, I wanted to go. But then this organizer guy, the same guy that wanted me to do this, interview, he wanted me to sign, a board, but the board wasn't there. So he said the board was coming in a few minutes. I had to stand there. And I think because he wanted me to stay and not go, he started asking me questions about Hungary. Like, how are the streets of Hungary? How many times have you been here? And I could tell that he was doing it because he just wanted me to wait. And then yeah, anyways, it's okay. I don't mind. It was just a bit funny that it all happened right then. Yeah, so that's that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was telling chat the oh my god, Wagner has blundered. Wagner has blundered. Pia is back in the game. We were afraid Pia was gonna lose a pawn, but now Pia is the one that's on the attack. So
Yeah.
very good news there from Pia's board.
Okay, that is amazing. Well, Hammer, I'm gonna let you go back to watching PS game. Everybody, let's wish my mom good luck. Let's see if we can at least get some points today. And yeah, I'm sorry for the bad game. I will not fall into this again. Painful, painful. But yeah, thank you so much. And Hammer will continue commentating now. PS game, and I will see you all for the next round that I play. Bye bye, everybody. Thank you for watching and thank you for rooting for me. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye. Okay, that was Anna. I have strict instructions not to leak anything. So I may have cut her off there a bit harshly in order to make sure that I was the one to switch the scenes before the video call ended. But it was successful. And speaking of successes, look at this. A question mark move from the opponent after Pia found this only potentially salvaging situation, pawn to d4. In fact, after this pawn move, White could have still remained up a pawn if they had just moved their bishop and then continued the attack on the central pawn. This would have led to Pia still being down a pawn. However, capturing the pawn immediately, that was just not it. And after bishop takes on the side of the board, Pia has been able to activate her rook. She has gotten rid of the weak pawn in the center of the board. In fact, now it is Pia who will use her rook to target the weak pawns on White's in White's camp. In fact, the computer right now is saying that Pia is gonna win one of these white pawns no matter what. So not only did Dinara go from winning a pawn to not winning a pawn, she went from winning a pawn to losing a pawn. Pia loves playing endgames. Well, we're here for it. 15 minutes remaining for Wagner. 8 minutes for Pia. So Pia's down on time. But they only have to make another 11 moves before getting an additional 30 minutes. Should we briefly check in on Inna to see how she's doing? Oof. I'm counting pawns and it's not good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus 1, 2, 3. Yes, Inna is missing too many pawns. Inna down by 2 pawns. There's no saving that. So it's gonna be 3-0 Germany. And then the question is whether Pia can make it 3-1, which would be respectable. 3-1, it's not great, but it's not terrible. 4-0 is awful. And then 3.5 a half, it's a bit not great. But 3-1 is respectable. And it's all on Pia now. Okay, I haven't taken a break today, so I'm gonna have to take a break now. But I'll just be away for a little bit because this endgame is gonna reach. Well, probably in the next 10 moves, we will have a clear idea whether Pia is going to be able to win this game or not. And Dinara has used her rook to defend the pawn on f2, but that means Pia can now start targeting the pawn in the middle of the board, which is now an IQP for White. Black used to have the isolated queen's pawn, gave it to White, who's now having a big struggle to keep it defended. Hammer coffee break, hammer snack break, but you know, similar. Okay, we're back. And Pia has not tried to win the pawn on d4. I think her concern was that if the rook tries to attack the pawn, Dinara had this sneaky idea of going rook to c1. And now if rook takes pawn, then the white rook would come in, say check on the king moves, but then the rook gives another check on the king moves again, and the rook would sacrifice its... Oh, they made a draw. Never mind. Okay, that happened quick. How was your snack? I didn't find any snacks. But I guess that's fine now that the game is over anyway. Oh, man, I placed the... Okay, yeah, I mistimed my break. I thought we were gonna have a long endgame here, if I'm honest. But instead, Dinara has offered a draw, and Pia has accepted. In this chess Olympiad, they do have to make... They're not allowed to make... to offer a draw in the first 30 moves. But this was move 31. Chess players are very good at making draws, even when officials try to stop them. Why would she do that without knowing the result of the last game? Because the last game is obviously going to be a win for Germany. Pia knows chess. She knows there's no chance Inna is not losing. So it didn't really matter the result of Pia's game. And frankly, I think the fact that Pia made a draw also has to do with her opponent being higher rated. And it also has to do with the fact that Pia realizes that she was in trouble earlier in the game. And very often, if you kind of feel like I was in trouble, but I survived, you're more inclined to make a draw. Why did she accept the draw there? Well, because it's equal. Maybe black is very slightly better. Now that I think about it. Dinara offered a draw because she thought it's likely to be accepted, which was true. Computer feels the position is 0.00. But maybe in practical play, it's a bit better for black because white's pawn is unable to be defended by other pawns. So this one could be a weakness in the long term. Could she win? I mean, there's still plenty to play for in this position. It's not one of those situations that is very obviously going to be a draw. But a draw was a fine result overall. To be entirely honest, the Swedish team is going to need Pia for every single match. So preserving Pia's energy is not the worst idea. I think Pia would rather be fit for a fight for one of the next matches where they can win instead of trying to lose 3-1 instead of 3.5. Germany dominating this round. Let's update the score. I was caught a bit off guard there by the draw. But let's go into the match text and say, okay, look away, English speakers. You're not gonna like this. But this is how we do it. 1/2 to 2.5. And then going to the overview. Oh no, the other game is already... Yeah. The other game was already over. We're gonna catch the last glimpses here of Juan. As he signs... Someone was asking, what is the task of the captain? And we're about to witness it. The arbiters, the referees, are filling out all the forms, and now Juan is gonna sign the result and confirm 3.5, 2.5. Oh no, Juan is getting back the green tags for tomorrow. He already signed the papers. And here is Inna getting the score sheet from her game. I don't get the problem, but English is not my first language. Apparently, English speakers are very unhappy when you use a comma rather than a dot. But that was the end of it. That's all we had for today, people. Sweden, half. Germany, 3.5. A thumping of the Swedish team by the German number 8 ranked players. But at least it wasn't a sweep. How can you end the stream without Anna around to tell you when? To be entirely honest with you, I am a bit nervous about that exact thing. Do we have someone raiding? Because I don't have that power. Are we doing this without a raid? Am I just gonna stop the stream? Like a crazy person? Hammer with the hard decisions. I was not prepared for this. No one told me this was gonna happen. Raid Hammer? I should raid myself. I don't have the power to do so, unfortunately. Just leave stream on until tomorrow. Honestly, that's the best suggestion so far. Just get some of that ad revenue in the background. "24-hour stream, let's go." Oh, I'm kind of waiting for someone to just save me, but apparently that's not an option. Can we commentate on every other game now, please? I need to find some snacks. I am sad to announce I discovered I had a lack of snacks at home. I may need to go find a store on a Sunday in Norway when the stores are closed. Very bad timing. Hammer cooking stream? Yeah, we don't have the cameras for that. Okay, I guess I have to just end the stream then. I have to make an executive decision. Remember everyone, there's a new round tomorrow. New chances to get some points. Tomorrow is round 6. And there are 11 rounds total in the tournament. Tuesday is actually a rest day. So no games then. Tomorrow the games will start at the same time, 3 p.m. Local time, Central European time. That is 9 a.m. Eastern. Okay. I have no power here to do anything. So we're gonna go without a raid, but do support other chess creators. That is the encouragement of the day. And I'll see you back tomorrow.